You're basically going to take a nostalgic journey back in time, looking at baseball's past, but you're also going to get a glimpse of what a segregated society was like. But more importantly, you're going to bear witness to how these amazing athletes overcame tremendous social adversity to play the game that they loved. And their passion for our sport would not only change our national pastime, but it would change our nation for the better. And really, that's the story that you're going to enjoy as you make your way through the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. We wanted to provide an inspirational passage that we thought would set the mood and tone for what our visitors would experience. We chose this verse from the Roman Catholic Bible, Ecclesiastes, that simply says, "My son, if you aspire to be a servant of the Lord, prepare yourself for testing, set a straight course and keep to it, and do not be dismayed in the face of adversity." You see, that was Negro Leagues Baseball in a nutshell. These athletes loved the game of baseball so much that they were willing to endure whatever social adversity confronted them as they traveled the highways and byways of our country just to play baseball. That passion would not only change our sport, but it would change our country. And that's the story that we lay out in its greater context. The story itself is set on a timeline of American history. So everything above the timeline is baseball related. What is captured inside the timeline are historical reflections of things that were happening to African Americans at that particular juncture in our country's history. So really for our visitor, it becomes an all-encompassing history lesson. You not only come here and witness the rise and subsequent fall of the Negro Leagues, but you literally witness the social rise of America simultaneously, and those two things go hand in hand.
Right.
Many of the great changes that occurred in this society occurred as a result of this man, Jackie Robinson, shown right here as a member of the great Kansas City Monarchs, sliding into home. The painting is called Safe at Home, and it is a masterpiece from the genius of Kadir Nelson, who is I think, one of the greatest young artists in the country, who just happened to take a liking to Negro Leagues and started painting Negro League pieces. He has other, pieces, but he really fell in love with the Negro Leagues and has done some amazing works. This painting of Jackie Robinson is absolutely incredible.
It's beautiful. And Bob, when the movie came out last year, that obviously was a very big moment for your museum. But as well, I think it's important to note, and I'm sure that when people come through here, they will get that he was so instrumental, like you mentioned, in paving the way for so many other people. Rosa Parks, and
Robinson's breaking of the color barrier, a lot of people haven't necessarily connected it to the civil rights movement.
Right.
And it's only been recently that they started to kind of make that connection. Well, the museum has always made that bold assertion that Robinson's breaking of the color barrier wasn't just a part of the civil rights movement, it was the beginning of the civil rights movement. This is 1947. This is before Rosa Parks' refusal to move to the back of the bus. This was before Brown versus the Board of Education. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was a sophomore at Morehouse College at that time.
Right.
President Truman wouldn't integrate the military until a year after Jackie. So really, it was baseball that started the ball of social progress rolling in our country.
Right.
And so when baseball integrates, the rest of our society starts to follow, which again speaks to the reverence that baseball held in this country. Here you had the irony of young black soldiers dying, fighting the same racism in another country that we're being asked to accept here in the States. That led to the movement of integrating America's so-called national pastime. The sentiment was this: if they could die fighting for their country, they ought to be able to play baseball in this country. That, of course, would lead to Jackie Robinson being handpicked from the great Kansas City Monarchs. He plays here in 1945. At the end of the 45 season, signed his contract to play with the Brooklyn Dodgers, would spend the 46th season in Montreal, and then, of course, on April 15, 1947, make that monumental walk on the field as a member of the Brooklyn Dodgers, forever changing the game of baseball, but more importantly, forever changing his country. But I oftentimes remind people, before he was number 42, he wore number 5 with the great Kansas City Monarchs. And we should never forget Jackie Robinson. The courage that he displayed in the face of tremendous social adversity to go on and alter things so greatly in our country. But we should never forget the league that gave us Jackie Robinson. Because had it not been for the Negro Leagues, we don't discover Jackie Robinson. And if we don't get Jackie Robinson in 1947, if there's not another Jackie Robinson in 1947, if this is 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, you certainly have to believe that the game would have integrated at some point in time.
Right.
The question is when. And had it been much longer, you think about all the great black stars and Hispanic stars that we would have possibly missed.
Right.
You could have missed Willie Mays. You could have missed Hank Aaron. You could have missed Ernie Banks, Roy Campanella, possibly have missed a Roberto Clemente. Can you imagine what the game would have been like without those stars? And if you can imagine what it was like before 1947. All these great black stars and Hispanic stars that we missed.
Right.
Or at least mainstream America missed.
Yes.
Because it's really one of the things that kind of agitates me from time to time is that people will say, well, nobody saw these men play. Well, a lot of people saw them play. Yeah, they were just black. You know, they were filling up ballparks all over the country.
Sure.
And so mainstream America missed out on some of the greatest baseball players who ever played. The late, great Buck O'Neil would oftentimes say, man, don't feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for the people who didn't see me play.